Here at the end of the growing season, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of take a look at the situation, the agricultural situation nationwide. Start with the U.S. Drought Monitor. It's a little dry across South Dakota, especially the west. Black Hills, most of North Dakota, most of Minnesota. If anything, it's dry. It's wet to normal. In some spots, very wet. Northeast North Dakota is incredibly wet. Southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, incredibly wet. That due to that heavy rain back in September. Northeast North Dakota, rained there all summer, never really quit. The opposite of that, there's some dry areas in the interior of the Northeast, in the southeastern states, and some of this is agricultural, of course, sorghum, cotton, from across Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. A lot of that area gets about, September, October, November, gets about 8 to 10 inches of rain on average, and a lot of this region has had about 1 to 2 inches. It's phenomenally dry, and the soil moisture has just gone away in the southeast. Southern California is still dry. There has been some progress this past year in Northern California. This winter, spring, I fear Southern California may hold its own or get a little worse, even though this is the wet season. Same thing for much of the southeast. This is the rainy season, winter and spring in the southeast, but I think they won't get enough. Those two areas of the country, drought is likely to get a little bit worse. La Nina, it was briefly getting warm across the tropical regions of the Pacific Ocean, and now it has gone mostly cold. So for a while, it looked like the La Nina was off. Now it's on. It's a fairly weak to moderate La Nina, but look at what it's doing in the northern Pacific. We've gone from very warm sea surface temperatures to quite cool, and that will likely influence the weather pattern across the United States and bring some colder weather this winter season. And probably that will help initiate more precipitation as well. The other thing that's happening is remember the term polar vortex? Well, we're kind of looking at it here. That's the circulation around the Arctic region, and it's weak and wobbly this fall and early winter. And when that happens, it tends to allow for Arctic air intrusions. So far, they've been across Europe and across Siberia. A lot of snow, cold in northern Europe, extremely cold in Siberia, but that's going to begin to fade this month of December, and I think there's a good chance by the end of the month we'll start getting some of that cold weather dropping into the United States, especially into the northern plains, upper Midwest, and eventually the Great Lakes. I think most of the southeast will be fairly warm and dry, but I think we'll start getting some cold weather probably by mid-December or Christmas time into the plains and the Great Lakes states. Meanwhile, in South America, some scattered heavy rains across Brazil and across Argentina, looking favorable for agricultural interests there. Also in Australia, they've had some water. So, it's drought in the southeast United States. That's going to get worse. Favorable weather in the southern hemisphere. Meanwhile, here in the plains, we're still waiting for the cold and snow.